A historian has been trying to get hold of official documents relating to Prince Andrew's time as a trade envoy, only to be told they're going to be kept secret until 2065. Usually, government papers transferred to the National Archives are allowed to be released after 20 years, but there are different rules for members of the royal family. There's an absolute exemption from freedom of information requests relating to the sovereign, the heir, and the second in line to the throne. But there can also be exemptions for other royals, like Prince Andrew, meaning the government can turn down requests until 105 years after their birth. Royal biographer Andrew Lownie is trying to see papers about Andrew's meetings and travel arrangements when he was travelling the world on behalf of the government. He says he's been met with frustration and a culture of secrecy to preserve the mystique of the royal family. But does someone as controversial as Andrew deserve this protection? Absolutely not. No. Of course not. Now, this is not relating to anything about Epstein and any of that stuff, but I still want to know how he's been spending the money. What hotels he's staying in? How many rooms is he booking? I want to know. And if there's secrets, then I definitely want to know. What's there to hide? If it's just normal business, oh yeah, he stayed at the Novotel. He had breakfast. Done. Then there's no problem. So there must be something to hide.
This was the Air Miles Andy era, wasn't it? Where he flew around the world at the government's expense, and his requests and demands were notorious. It was always like, I need the hotel nearest to the golf course, you know, book me this restaurant, I want to go to this club, and I need... So he basically used the government as a bank in order to live this high-flying, jet-setting lifestyle, playing a lot of golf and enjoying a lot of great restaurants and a lot of great clubs around the world. So that's why it would be interesting to see. This guy, Lownie, has been trying for a long time to get the details of Mountbatten when he was around about what happened, you know, during his eventful life, particularly the partition of India and Pakistan and all that, and he's getting the same response. So in other words, what we do when it comes to freedom of information, when it comes to the royal family, we defer, we touch our forelock and say, oh, no, you can't have any information about the king. If we want to be a modern nation, then we have to be allowed to have information about the king and also his dreadful brother, wicked uncle Andy.
Do you think this explains why, when they do surveys, and they've just done one about the popularity of the royal family, so if you speak to anybody, I think between the ages of like 18 and 24, only 30% are really in favour of the monarchy. They're not terribly happy with the way it's working, whereas you look at anybody over the age of 65 and it's 77%. So I think I've got that right. So when you start to see that, if the royal family want to stay as an institution, openness and accountability is much more important than it used to be. And as Kevin said, you know, this touching forelocks, oh, you know, it's the royal family, they can do what they like. No, actually, if the royal family is doing something on our behalf, I want to know that they're sticking by the rules. I understand that they're going to have to stay at different places. I understand that they're going to have to travel in different ways. I understand that they're going to eat and drink and do all these things that maybe we can't all do if we like. Having said that, if they are spending our money, an element of transparency, please, and also accountability for what you're doing and what actually did we get from it?
Yeah, and complete transparency for me as well. Like, I'm totally with you, JJ, but I would say even more so because of the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He was in a government role when he was doing this. Yes, we absolutely have a right to know what people who are working on government business are doing. If he wanted a private life, then step away from the royal family. He didn't do that. He stayed well and truly in it and was a government envoy. Now, as in his role as an ambassador for the NSPCC, he also travelled around the world whilst being friends with a convicted paedophile. So if you can be an ambassador for the NSPCC and be friends with a paedophile, what on earth are you doing as envoy for the British government?
Speaking to the Chinese and the Russians.
Well, I can't say a thing. But where was he that night? Was he in Pizza Express or not? Because I bet a freedom of information request could answer that if this rule wasn't in place.
Yes.
I think it will be. I think you're absolutely right, James, that the public has moved on and the royal family has to play catch-up now and understand that the way that things used to work, where it was, you know, never explain, never complain, don't talk publicly about things, you know, those days have gone. And whilst no member of the royal family is currently a government trade envoy, and I expect they probably never will be in the future, this did happen relatively recently, and actually people like this historian have every right to ask. But it obviously means that the rules are going to have to be changed, because the rules are the rules, that the royals don't have to answer these FOIs. But I think that will have to change if they're going to stay relevant and if they're going to, you know, to maintain...
Haven't they bent the rules for him? Because it's only the the first in line and the second in line to the throne that are
And
protected
he's what,
by this.
6th or 8th now?
He's about 105th in line to the throne now, so
But I
they're
think
bending the rules.
I think they probably are bending the rules, but at the time he was covered by, and of course that's what counts at the time when he was trade envoy.